Hey guys, and today we're going to talk about our personal rankings. Welcome back, Legionnaires. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Chris.
And today we're going to talk about personal rankings, what we believe to be a ranking list of our armies that we like.
Right.
Not necessarily a power scaling, not necessarily, a fun scale, just everything put together that personally...
As a whole package.
It's all in a package. Absolutely.
So we're going to talk about our favorite army up first. Some people's favorite army, Adeptus Custodes. How would you rank this?
I love the Golden Boys.
Right.
I think that they're awesome. I think the lore is badass. I think they're consistently either really good or really bad on the tabletop. There's no in between.
Yes.
I would love to see more models by them, which we got a new one recently. Looks cool.
How do you feel about the helmet option?
Always helmets.
I agree.
If you fucking put no helmet on your model,
There's something
you're
wrong
a
with
fucking
you.
monster.
Yeah,
And
probably.
there's a special place in hell for you. Straight up.
Those are for the painter tryhards.
Why are they running around getting fucking shot at
With a helmet off.
with a helmet off?
They're just that
I don't-
confident.
I don't care how badass you are. You're going to get shot in the fucking face.
So what are we thinking? S tier or A tier for them?
You know what? Man, this is okay. I thought
it's
this was
hard.
going to be easy.
I know.
I think I'm going to put him at A, and I'll explain why.
Okay, we'll put him in A. We can always move him around if we need to.
I'll explain why.
Things might get bumped around, but I got him at A for now.
You have to dip into Forge World,
Yeah.
and I don't like that.
And that knocks points off him
It
for you?
does, yeah. It knocks points off, but I do also really just have bias. Obviously, this is our list, so whatever.
So our next army to talk about is the Adeptus Mechanicus. What do you think?
Dump those fuckers right to D.
I know. See, I disagree. I really like the AdMech. I think they have a really cool vibe, and I like the models and how they look and what they're all about.
Okay.
The only thing about them is that they've been super swingy with their rules.
Real swingy.
They're
Kinda like
9th edition,
Custodes.
they were a menace, but 10th edition, they have been trash.
End of 9th edition, they were really good.
Yes, and
9th edition as a whole, they were shit.
yeah, I mean, but
They have their moments. It's just like Custodes.
for me personally, I put them at C tier. They're not quite like the worst
I'm
of the
joking.
worst.
Yeah, I don't think they're D
know?
tier. I don't think anything's D tier.
We'll get there.
I know. So okay, you know what? I can see it. C tier is good.
I'll put them at C tier for now. All right, so next up we have the Sisters of Battle, the Adeptus Sororitas. So
Well, she's a dude, so
yeah, this image is a dude. I think I don't know. It's too small. I might be wrong, and I'm really sorry if I am. But
and you know what? Even if it is, that's cool. We're cool.
They're a cool army. You know what's weird about Sisters is that at the beginning of my 40k understanding, I was not big on Sisters. I just thought it was weird that there is super religious nuns with guns. I just thought it was a weird thing. But they've been growing on me lately. I don't know what it is.
They're underrepresented.
Yeah.
They have cool, unique features that bring different things to the table that other armies don't. And I personally think that their whole lore side is badass.
Yeah.
Hey, you are sacrilegious and you are not doing good things, so we're gonna just shove you in this machine and send you off to die.
Yeah, they're super cool.
That's so sweet.
And in the actual tabletop, I had one of my best games of 40k I've ever played was against a Sisters player, and it was so thematic because it literally came down to miracle dice.
Yeah.
And the miracle dice doing the thing that they wanted was just so perfect for the army.
It was yeah.
Yeah, and it all came down to literally one die roll of mine to win the game, and I was like, man, that was such a good game of 40k.
That was awesome.
And because of that, Sisters have just kind of they've grown on me quite a bit.
I think they're B tier.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I was like, B tier is about right.
Cool.
They seem to be about that. Next up, another one, Aeldari.
Well,
You know how I feel about them.
come on. My buddy Brad, if you're watching, he's got a silly joke about them. He doesn't like them at all. I personally love them.
Yeah.
I think they're a great army. I think they have very combo-y, very synergy. If you're a plate spinner, if you love that type of game style where you're constantly checking buffs and adding buffs and moving things and doing shenanigans, I think Eldar really bring a good thing to the table for you.
They do. I know they do a lot. I know historically they've always done a lot. They have a lot of buffs going around. They're, very powerful psychers. As far as the lore goes, though, obviously I'm biased, right? I'm a huge Necron guy, and like
You hate them.
there are arch enemies,
Yeah,
right?
you
Like,
hate them because you hate them.
They've been around for 60 million years, and they've kind of been a thorn in our side ever since, you know?
Yeah, but you hate them because you ain't them.
Oh, no. No. I'm sorry. Like, you got powerful psychers versus powerful robots, so, I'm biased. I do acknowledge, though, that they're a cool freaking army.
They're powerful, typically.
Yeah.
If they're not powerful, Harlequins are powerful.
Yes.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
I will say this. All this aside, I'm going to shove them in B tier.
B tier, interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
Why is that?
Because they're locked behind fine cast models.
I agree, and I was going to take points off of my ranking.
That's big points for me
because of them needing all of those old cast models.
And I say this, guys, and I'm actually playing in my very first tournament with Eldar, and I plan on getting my shit kicked in very, very, very good.
Yep. I mean, but you are playing Eldar though, and they aren't. They're good in the meta right now.
They're really good in the meta.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they're locked behind fine cast guys. And if you're a new player getting into this, I think Eldar is a really bad place to start because one, they're a very competitive army and they require a lot of thought process, and the fine cast models are just help is on the way. I think GW is gonna work it out.
Quick question: would you put them above or below Sisters?
I would put them below Sisters.
Below.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's how strongly I feel about the fine cast.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have the Imperial Guard. This is how I feel about the Guard. Is if you're going to be in a crazy futuristic sci-fi setting, why play the basic humans?
You're a dude from World War II,
right?
That is going up against people that are
now
10 feet tall.
With all this said, we may not get it with the Guard, but I know people that play Guard that are just diehard Guard players.
Yeah, guys, this is our personal list, right?
Yeah.
So, in reality, we're saying this, but we love all the armies,
right? And this is just our feelings on it.
Yeah, I think Guard's in a great spot. I think they're locked behind some older models.
They have some newer stuff. They just came out with a big new line of stuff.
They did a wave. The Cadian squads and stuff are really cool.
The new Rogel Dorn just came out.
Yeah, Rogel Dorns are cool. I mean, Bane Blades just came back out. Those are amazing. I actually love the army, but for me personally, I don't get the World War II thing.
I don't really either. If I'm going to play 40k, I want to do something wild and crazy, and Guard are just not that.
They're just not.
That's crazy expensive. To build that army, oh my god.
Oh yeah. But we'll totally help you guys out if you want to just shovel all your money into Guard. We got you. We're gonna dump them to D tier. What do you think?
Okay, Byron, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I really am. I'm gonna put them in D tier.
Don't. He's fucking lying.
They're probably in the top 3 of my least favorite armies.
Okay.
I just when I see them, I'm just uninspired. I've played against them a few times, and they're fun to play against. I'll give them that.
They do what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, we have just Chaos. So Chaos Demons.
I mean, I love demons.
Yeah.
And I think I think I could speak for the class when I say they're always consistently good. Maybe they're not top tier, but they're creeping up all the time. And the silly thing is, the list that I played in our last first local tournament, it's now being played.
Yeah.
And it's knights with teleport.
Right.
But better because they have fodder units that hold and stick objectives, and they're just so good.
Big Demon Monster Mash has been
always good.
A thing that's just stuck around forever.
And look at the models. I mean, Bellacore is so cool.
It's such a cool model.
And the denying people. I just love the fact that I put them on the table, and it's hey, you cannot target any of my shit within a range of Bellacore.
They've got really cool rules. My only problem with them is that they live and die by that 4-up.
They really, really do.
It's a coin flip.
Yeah.
No matter what you do.
It's a 50-50 army. That's what I'd say.
It is. And
also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was about to say, sometimes you run hot and sometimes you don't. And,
Well, and also, I think they're in the same boat as Eldar, right? The fine cast.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And demons, they don't really have too much fine cast. I take that back, but demons as a whole, right? Their models haven't been updated, guys. And I'm a sucker for wanting new models. And I think they could do a really good job with demons with updating the model range, but I don't think we're going to see it for a while.
My problem with demons is that there's 4 factions in the demon world, right? And I feel like you can't really pick a demon or a god and just run a list about that god. Like building an all Nurgle demons list, like not really great, you know. Like
yeah, that's why you usually see them running a soup,
right?
Like when I was playing, it was literally just all the gods,
right?
Chaos Undivided.
It'd be nice if when they get the they really are in need of a codex. Like when that comes out, it'll be neat to see what they do with each individual god.
I think they're going to move away from the big stuff and probably do because right now Battle Line's just so expensive. But we'll talk about them in another video.
So separately. What are you thinking for demons?
Honestly, C tier.
C tier. I was gonna give them
C tier, B tier.
I was thinking B tier.
They're at that threshold.
Yeah. Do you think they're better or worse than Aeldari?
I think they're in a better spot than Aeldari.
You think so? Yeah. So you're gonna put them below Sisters but above Aeldari? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
Okay, so they're gonna go right in the middle of those two armies. Next up, we just have Chaos Space Marines, just as a general faction.
I'm gonna deduct points for Trim.
Okay.
Because it's a fucking nightmare.
You're right. Yep.
I'm going to deduct points because it's so broad.
Yeah.
But add points because they're versatile for their broadness. And I think that they were really broken at the beginning of 10th.
They were broken up until very recently.
Now I also think that they're going to see a lot of changes as well.
Yeah. It's one faction that I look at it and like it doesn't really call to me.
Doesn't grab you.
Yeah, there's nothing about them that's like, oh, that's a really unique and interesting thing that they do. You know, like I'm just like, all right, they're Space Marines and they soup in some demons, maybe. You know, like that's how I feel about them.
I'm gonna put them my personal rating. I'm gonna put them at C tier.
I agree.
I think they have a lot of potential, but you know, it is what it is.
I'm gonna put them under Admech personally.
Yeah, under Admech.
Yeah,
I agree.
Next up, we have the Death Guard. This is an interesting faction to me. Yeah. It's one of the few like Chaos Space Marine factions that has a really cool and interesting identity.
They have lore.
Right.
They have depth. They play on the tabletop very well and they stick to their lore.
They do. And they're like, I love their models too. Like they have some gorgeous
their models are great, guys. And you know, Mortarion. Who doesn't like playing a Primarch?
Like that model just has such potential to be painted well.
Oh yeah.
Like every time I see somebody with a cool Mortarion model, I'm just like, yes, that is so cool.
You know what though? I've had this army 3 times, guys, and I fucking sold it every time.
Yeah.
It's just every time it's like, man, this is great, and it's fully painted, and it's based, and it's great, and then I just am like, from
what I found about Death Guard, it's like you're either like a Death Guard player or like you're not.
Yeah.
There's no in between.
Yeah.
You know?
So what do we think for a rating?
I was going to put them at like B tier maybe because I like the lore really kind of sells it for me and the models.
I'd put them at the low B tier.
Low B tier. I would too, right under Aeldari.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yep. Next up, we have Drukhari.
Drukhari are weird. They're in an interesting spot. The lore's cool. I mean, pirates that sit in a pocket dimension that come out and like abduct you and then turn you into skin suits is pretty weird. Not my thing.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I was actually
psychos.
I was just listening to a podcast earlier about talking about Kamara, which is the city.
Yeah, the city. It's in a pocket dimension in the warp,
and like they are crazy. Like,
they're fucking lunatics.
They're complete lunatics.
They abduct you.
Right.
And they take you back to their city, and there's these scientists that live under the city, and they've made skin tunnels. Like, they turn you into fucking lampshades. They're Hannibal.
Right.
It's fucking terrible.
They are the worst of the worst. Like, when you talk about, like, grimdark, edgy settings in 40k.
They're the edgelords, for sure.
They are the edgelords.
They even have blades on their armor, which makes them even more fucking edgelords.
The thing about it is like the lore as to why they do that is interesting because that's the only thing stopping them from being eaten by Slaanesh.
Yeah.
So, that aspect of it is cool.
They're preserving their people and also, in times of darkness and stuff, I really think people show their true colors, and the Drukhari kind of got a bad deal.
They did.
I mean, the Eldar as a whole
kind of the reason why they had a bad deal in the first place.
They fucked themselves literally into a bad deal.
They did.
And now they're running, and now they're scared, and they're doing bad shit with their hood rat friends. I mean, it is what it is.
Like,
we all remember that video. Right?
You know what they do? What's actually kind of interesting is they drop subtle little hints to things like the Admech to tell them like, oh hey, there's an STC here at this location, and they'll guide them to the pocket dimension on how to get there, and then kill everyone.
Yeah, because, well, they're friends until they're not.
Yeah. And if you like pirates as like a theme, maybe they could be your faction, but like
I'm saying C tier.
C tier. I was actually gonna go D tier, but like if you think C tier,
okay, let's put them at D tier. Do we have anything at D tier?
We do have Guard.
Oh, yeah. Put them ahead of Guard.
I would put them ahead of Guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're D tier for me.
Yeah, same.
Next up, we have Genestealer Cult. We
don't need to talk about them.
I kind of do. I mean, they're kind of weird.
I think they're cool in their own right. They're niche-y.
Yeah.
They're a faction that's very, very lowly represented in the community.
There's not a lot of Genestealer players for many reasons. Yeah. But my thing about them is I just hate their theme.
Like, I don't like their theme. I don't like their play style. It's like run away,
hit or miss
run
on
away,
that.
attack.
But man, they're like whole like miners with like being corrupted miners from the Tyranids, like wielding like drills and stuff. Like I just hate that theme. Like like that could, for what they are. There's this cosmic horror of another alien faction that is infesting people, causing them to be beacons for their whole civilization to be eaten. Like, that's such a cool concept, and what do you do with it? Space miners. What? Like, that could be so much cooler.
Deep Rock Galactica.
Yeah. We'll get to that. There's a better faction for that.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, God.
But, like, their models are expensive. If you want to build an army, you're spending a lot of money. They're probably the most expensive army.
I was going to say, they're more expensive than Guard.
Yeah.
So let's put these guys, let's rate them. I mean, what do you think?
They're D tier for me.
A billion %.
They're, like, worse than Guard.
Yeah, worse than Guard, bottom.
I hate them. Next up, we have Grey Knights. I really like Grey Knights. I don't know about you.
I think their playstyle is good. Mm-hmm. Again, problem. They are old models.
Yep.
And they're firstborn. Mm-hmm. And I love them. I love the playstyle. I love the look. I love the lore. B tier.
Yeah, you're just going right out the gate B tier, huh?
Straight up.
So I agree with you. I like the lore. My only problem with Grey Knights is that historically and recently, they're just not very good.
No, they're not.
Like
they can't hit up.
No.
And in a meta that is heavy tanks and heavy attacks and a lot of AP, it's not good.
I like them as a concept. These like secretive elite psychic warriors that are out to kill demons, and like I love everything about that is just so cool to me. But I would play that army if they had better rules.
Yeah, I agree. So what would you rate them?
I would say, me personally, I was thinking low B, maybe high C, somewhere in there. They're definitely worse than Death Guard recently for me. So I'd say low B. That's where I put them, yeah.
Okay, let's put them at low B.
Yeah. Next up, we have Imperial Knights.
I'm going to rank Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights in the same league.
Really? Because I would split them up a little bit.
I know. Chaos Knights I favor.
Yeah.
They're better.
I do too.
Hands down, they are better. I mean, but I think we can talk about them at the same time. Let's not rate them the same. Sure. Let's talk about them at the same time. So
for me personally, I like both, but I would say that Chaos Knights are a little cooler.
A billion %.
They have a wider range of models.
And they stab you whenever you grab them off the table, which is great.
But it's weird because there's this weird paradox of like Chaos Knights have more like armature chassis, but like that's all they play.
Yeah.
Like they only play, the small knights. Whereas
if you're competitive, yeah.
Yeah. But whereas the big knights have like less options, but they have more variety when they play on the table. Mm-hmm. So it's this weird kind of, mix of that. As far as lore goes, I would definitely give it to the Chaos Knights. Yeah. Like, you've got everything from the regular Knights plus more.
Yeah, because you have the Chaos lore on top of that.
Right, exactly.
They're dudes in these giant mechs that are noble knights, and some of them have fallen, some of them haven't fallen.
Right.
I think Imperial Knights way more shooty right now, kind of in a weird state in the game.
Yeah. They were a menace at the beginning of 10th.
They were so good, and then all of a sudden they like shit the bed.
They nerfed all the rules. They did a lot of stuff that was just putting them down. For me personally, the way I'd rank them, I would put Chaos Knights in A tier personally. Like I
would too. I think they're very good and they look cool.
I put them below Custodes.
Absolutely below Custodes.
Where are my Chaos Knights? There you are. So you're going to go below Custodes. I would put Imperial Knights at like medium low B tier.
Yes.
For Imperial Knights.
Yes.
So below
I would say
Aeldari.
C tier. I would say
C tier? I wouldn't. I'll
lowest B.
Lowest B. We'll go lowest B.
We'll
I can't put them at C tier. Like, I like big stompy
It's because you
mechs.
have them sitting at your
I
house.
know, but they're cool.
But where are they at,
You know?
Chris? Where are they at?
Yeah, let's not talk
Have they
about
ever
that.
been Have they ever been tabled and fielded?
They're painted.
Fucking great.
Yeah, but they just the rules are just not great.
Okay, let's move on.
Next up, we got for Rock and Stone. We have the Leagues of Votann.
We talked about this, guys, and we did a video on them. Check it out. We should put a link up in the corner.
Okay.
We should do that.
Yeah,
we should do that, right? So basically, not my cup of tea. I think they're great. I think they look cool. I think they're Space Marines but dwarves, and you know.
They're another one of those factions that I said earlier. It's like you either really love them or you just couldn't care less.
They have a lot of potential, too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a new faction, guys. If you're a new player with any of these armies, don't take what we say as a grain. You know, take it with a grain of salt, right?
We're just two dudes who are talking about 40k. Like,
yeah,
you know.
we really, like, every army is going to be cool.
Right.
In their own right. But I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I know people who are really into leagues, and like I get it. Like I can understand their enthusiasm on the faction.
Some of the models look really cool.
They are, and like their rules are actually pretty okay. Like they need some help. They're not.
They do.
You know, it's a little one-dimensional right now, but like.
But I don't think they're in a bad spot.
No.
I don't think they're in a great spot.
Yeah.
But that's the best spot to be in.
Right.
In 40k, because if you're too good, you get nerfed. If you're too bad, you get boosted, but then you get nerfed again.
Like the one thing that gives them a couple extra points with them is like in their lore, they're okay with trading with other factions. So like they and the Tau have had a lot of interactions. Like the reason why ion weapons and rail weapons exist are because they traded with each other.
Stole from.
Well, they traded. They didn't steal. Well,
perception.
Yeah, I guess
perception and my persuasion. I think they stole, but that's just me.
You know, with that aspect, like they're not quite D tier for me for that reason. I'd probably put them in like low C.
Did I say D tier?
You didn't say it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was like, okay, yeah. I think they're mid C. Honestly,
mid-C?
I'd give them that.
You put them over Chaos Space Marines?
Yeah, I would.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
you can do that. All right. So, but I don't think they're better than AdMech.
No.
I think AdMech is way cooler.
AdMech's way cooler.
Oh, well, okay. Guess what the next faction is?
What is it?
Necrons.
Just do what you're gonna do.
Yeah, the rest here, man. I'm sorry. Like,
I'm not even gonna try and argue.
Yeah, they're the coolest freaking faction in the game, in my opinion. Like, there's so much cool lore for Necrons, and they have so many unique, like, avenues to explore with what they're doing.
They're very versatile. They're cool models. They have amazing, like, hands down. I'll give it to you. Best lore in the game.
Oh yeah, incredible.
Best lore.
Like, and like they have really cool sculpts. Like, if you've seen the Void Dragon,
yeah,
like,
it's sick.
I'm sorry, like that's just so cool. Yeah. Like they do suffer from a little bit from having some fine cast stuff, but not a lot. You know, you're not like required to get it.
It's getting zoned out,
right?
And they're getting more and more involved with the models, and the lore's getting more involved, and they're really coming into their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like they've been good on the tabletop for a long time.
Yeah.
And like right now they're like dominant. But like
they're very, very they're gonna get nerfed.
Absolutely.
They need it. But they're still going to be good. And talk about a faction, guys, that's been consistent, consistently good. I mean, 9th edition, they were kind of like floating in the middle, I feel like. But then they got really good.
Yes.
And then they were floating in the middle again.
Yeah.
So
they've never been bad. I mean,
they've never been bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there was a time back in 2nd or 3rd or whenever they came out that I'm sure they were bad, but. And like, go ahead and put them in S tier because I can't argue.
It's just they're just really cool.
I think they're cool too.
My thing about them as well is like the lore on them. I've said this in the Necron video is that they're the most human relatable faction in a weird way because when you listen to their lore, everything they do is like relatable and understandable.
Well, they got dealt a massive shit sandwich.
They did, and
then like. Gods came out and said, "Hey, by the way, we're not done yet. Bite the log. I'm coming in dry." Like, yeah, it was terrible. I mean, dude, they got fucking born on a planet that had a cancer sun. You know, it's just like.
And like, what's crazy about the lore on that is like the Catan shard was the reason why they were getting the cancer in the first place, and then
they don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
The Catan got what they deserved.
Yeah.
The Necrons did not get what they deserved.
Now they're batteries.
Yeah.
So next up we have the Orks. Orks are a faction.
They exist. They're cool. To some people, and to me personally,
it's funny. I like Orks. It's not a faction I think I'd ever play.
No.
But it's a faction I respect.
I love the lore of they believe things work.
Orc magic,
so
baby.
they work.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like they don't even know how bikes work, and they're just like the bike goes
right.
And so their magic, with them thinking it,
and I like the aspect
just
of them
collectively it happens.
I like their aspect of like the more orcs there are in a place, the stronger their magic gets. Like
because they're all believing.
That's just so cool.
I don't like how they're fungus.
Yeah, that is a little weird.
That's weird.
Yeah.
But I do like their silly, stupid names.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah.
Brad, this one's for you. Rucka Truck Squig Buggy.
Yeah.
Whenever I talk to Brad, I always say Rucka Fuck.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's stupid.
Gazgul Uruk Thraka.
Yeah, like, it's just dumb. And then DACA and shit. I mean, like, listen, there is a place for orc players, and it's close to my heart because they're always fun to play against.
They are. Dude, you always know an orc player.
Yeah.
Like they are easily the most fun people to play against because they just love their army
and they just love the game. And they you know, we have an orc player here, Oz. He's great, and he's made like these cool jetpack attachments, and it's just like every orc player kind of comes into their own. You know,
for me personally, I would put them at A tier. I think they're a solid faction. They got good rules too. Like
but this is our personal list.
I still like orcs. Like I don't think they're bad. Where would you put them?
I agree because I agree only because what it brings to my opponent when they play orcs.
Yeah, okay.
It's like happiness to everybody at the table.
Would you put them above or below Chaos Knights?
I'd put them below.
Below, so low A tier. I kind of agree with that. Yeah, that's good. All right. Next up, oh boy, we have just Space Marines.
All right, do we have a F tier?
No.
All right, just we know. Okay, guys, you guys, if you have watched our videos before, we're not a fan. Okay?
Yeah.
We think they're great for new players. We think that they're amazing to kind of explore the game with, but I think that there's so much more that you can do when you start appreciating the lore and the game. And even though they have all that stuff, they're just not for me.
I agree. There's some aspects of Space Marines in the lore that I find kind of cool. Like, you know, some of the lore for the Blood Angels is kind of neat.
No, I think it's full of all of that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of that argument that is like Jack of all trades, master of none.
Right.
And for me, it just... You can be the red Mega Man. You can be the blue Mega Man. You can be the yellow Mega Man.
Right.
I don't want to fucking be Mega Man.
I get it.
You know? Like, I just want to play the game and have a unique experience and not be the fucking red Mega Man.
Right. And, like, the way I feel about it is, like, when I'm, like, looking at the Discords and people talking about Space Marines, they start talking about, you know, combi bolter this and flamer this.
I don't even know their fucking weapons.
I'm just like, all right, man. My eyes like glaze over, and I'm like, yeah.
A Space Marine player could be playing against me. In all fairness, and I hope nobody's watching this from the tournament that we're gonna play in, and they could be like, it does this because of Space Marine, and I could be like, yeah, that sounds about that sounds about Space Marine.
That's kind of how I feel.
Straight up.
Every time I play Space Marines, like they're going over their squad, they're telling me this guy has this weapon and this guy has this weapon.
And I just don't give a fuck.
They're gonna die anyway.
I just don't give a fuck. They're either gonna die or they're gonna re-roll fucking everything because that was a thing. So yeah, we're just gonna dump them bottom of D tier.
Oh come on, they're not worse than.
We're just gonna shove them right down into the fucking mud.
I'm gonna put them in D tier, but I'm gonna put them between Drukhari and Guard.
Yuck.
Like
guys, he's giving them so much.
I think they're better than Guard, just a little.
No, they're not.
Not by much, but a little. And the only reason I give them that edge over Guard is for the lore. Like everything else.
Okay, you're bringing up some kind of argument that's valid.
Like, but as far as everything else goes, no, the Space Marines are terrible.
You're a yellow Mega Man player for that.
Yeah, okay, whatever that means. All right, next up we have the Tau. And I know how you feel about the Tau because we've mentioned it many times.
Okay, I'm going to be transparent. As much shit as I gave Tau in that video, I think that they're A tier.
Okay. I'll all right. I'm not going to try and sell you because I agree.
I think they're a great army.
Yep.
I think they play the game well with what they do.
They do.
I love that they're specific because me personally, I love armies that are specific and make themselves stand out in a world that's getting to a point where everying is being a certain
everything
way.
Does everything.
Right. And I think that makes them really good. I think they have okay lore, and I think that they just, I don't know, they're cool because I liked Gundams as a kid.
Yeah.
But I didn't love them to the point where I'm like, I want to go play Tau.
I really like Tau. Obviously, you know, I've brought my Tau with me today.
Can't wait to play against that.
Yeah.
Like, it should be fun.
They have a really cool range of models. They have the big mechs. They're supposed to be sort of similar to like the Covenant from Halo. They're supposed to have all these different alien factions and whatever. But like, that's not why I play them. I play them because Big Mech.
Big Mech, they're a gun line, and the new Crew Box, as much shit as we gave that, I think they're cool. I mean, I just, would I ever own it? I've dabbled in wanting to do it. I think I showed you that Tron game. Yeah. Like, I would do that.
Yeah.
But that'll be probably an army that I get way later on in my life.
Right. As far as the lore goes, their lore is kind of thin, but like it's been getting better.
It needs love. They
just came out with like in the Arks of Omen series, one of the books was centered around Farsight. And like it had a lot of new interesting lore. Like there was now theories that like Farsight's going to fall to chaos and like all this other stuff.
Well, he has the sword.
Right.
And I also think GW is identifying that they need to flush out more than just Space Marines.
They do.
Which in turn, guys, I hate the fact that I'm saying this, but facts are facts. Space Marine players right now are in a bad spot.
So where would
lore-wise and everything.
Where would you put Tau in relation to Chaos Knights and Golden Boys? Where would you put them?
I would personally say they're below both of those.
You would? Okay. I would personally put them above Chaos Knights, but below Custodes.
Fair compromise.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably where I'd put them. Because I see where Custodes have their thing, but like, they're better than Chaos Knights. Next up, we have Thousand Sons.
I'm going to burn through this one quick.
Okay.
They're great, and then they're bad. Yep. Their models are great. Their lore is great. But honestly, they're in such a fucking bad way. So often, they just get overlooked.
Yeah.
And it's just sad because they're this cool faction with totally unique models, and then they just get shit on. And then they're either really fucking oppressive, but 90% of the time they're just there. They exist.
You know what I'm going to dock points on them for is just how much trim those models need.
The trim too, yeah. I mean, this is
my god.
I think Chaos in general, guys, like trim is a motherfucker. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So what would we rate them?
I think they're cool looking models, and I agree with you on the lore. I think they do need some better rules. Like, they're okay. I do like them as an army. I'd probably put them like C tier.
I'd put them C tier.
C tier. I would probably put them just under AdMech and right above Leagues of Votann.
Fair enough.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Next up is a faction that is near and dear, I think, to both of our hearts, is Tyranids.
I'm going to put them S tier.
I was also thinking S tier, because, like, I love Tyranids so much. Like, there's such a cool faction and concept in the world of 40k. Like, this just overarching threat that every faction has to deal with.
They're the absolute bad guys.
Yes.
I mean, the fact that these things are hyper evolving, constantly changing, like they've even adapted to like chaos.
Yes.
They have a fucking they have a fleet that literally said, all right, well, chaos exists.
High Fleet Kronos.
Yeah, and it's like, to me, they're a great faction because they have lore. They're the big baddie. Everyone has to deal with them. The models are cool. Yes, they're locked behind Finecast a little bit. Yes, they have Forge World models. But you know what? The best thing overall, they play a different game on the table.
They do.
They really stand out to me. And their synergisty, their synergy and everything is just so good. And for a combo player, it just feels like you're right at home.
It does. Like, every time that I have put my Tyranids on the table, I feel like I'm solving a puzzle.
Yes.
It's not, you're not just slamming guns on the table and, watching your enemy get vaporized. It's every turn you're thinking about every model and where it needs to be.
Yep.
And it's, it really plays into the idea of the lore too, where like they're this army that is, singular, but also has an overarching plan. Like, and it's unknowable.
And they punish you if you play them incorrectly.
Yes, it's a really great army.
They're in a bad spot, in my opinion, right now with the meta. But I just love them, and S tier is where they go.
I'm gonna put them under Necrons because I'm biased. What do you think?
I mean, you know what? I'll agree because Necrons are top dog right now.
I agree.
So what's the last one?
So the last one is World Eaters.
A
tier?
Yeah.
Just out the gate?
Straight.
No. Why A tier?
I'm biased.
Obviously.
I love Angron.
Yeah.
I love Khorne. I love the fact Blood for the Blood God, Skulls for the Skull Throne, man.
Yeah. There's
kill,
people
break,
outside
destroy.
of 40k who know that.
Yeah. And they're an iconic faction. They just got released, into the wild, end of 9th. I think they're great. Are they in a bad spot right now? Yes. Their models look cool.
Yeah.
Their models are updated. And guys, the sky's the limit with these things. Like, you know, they're a newer faction. So I would love to see some demon kind of soup mix. I'm sure they're going to do some stuff with that. I'm sure they're going to release newer models. I'm worried about how deep they can go with them, only because how much skull and bones and melee can you do? Because if they make new models that are shooty, that's not Khorne.
Right.
So they're gonna run into a wall, and I'm calling it now. But I love them, and I think they're great.
I think so too. I think it's a really cool aesthetic, and it's very, like you said, it's nice to have an army that like does something that really well and have that on the table. I agree. I think they should go in A tier. I would probably. This is tough. So we have 4 in A tier. We have Custodes, we have Tau, we have Chaos Knights, and we have Orks. Where would you slot that in?
Behind Custodes.
Above Tau, behind Custodes?
Yeah.
I kind of agree. I would maybe put them a little below Tau, but I get it.
Kind of like Edge.
Yeah, it's like it could be either one. But yeah, that's our list.
That's our list, guys.
Yeah.
I think this wraps the video up. We just want to do something different and cool. Let us know what you guys think about our tier list. Hell, give us your tier list.
Well, I'd love to see them because it's interesting. It's different for everybody.
Everybody likes certain things. Everybody likes different things. Obviously, we favor certain armies over others. When you see the videos on these armies, just know that everything is good, guys. And if you want to get into Warhammer 40k or even Warhammer AOS, which we'll probably do an AOS one of these as well, feel free to stop by chaoslegion.com, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you next time, guys.